Because of this study, that's why I feel it is so important for us to do this on a daily basis to help us understand ourselves and really face anything that is a challenge that's in front of us. Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Rainy Philvong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Now, this could be the most underrated exercise to do that will help you become a great leader and most importantly, help with your mental health. And that is active self-reflection, taking 5 to 10 minutes of our day just to assess, what made us happy, what things did we, mess up on or fail on, and what can we learn from them. The whole purpose of this exercise is to understand yourself a little bit more and most importantly, grow. Active self-reflection has shown to help you understand your values, your beliefs, and kind of the sense of self, something that, even up until now, I feel like we're always trying to understand who we are as a person and kind of how we are tracking ourselves towards building the life that we want. And another thing is also helps us understand why we do the things that we do, why we act in the ways that we do, which is something I feel like we don't spend enough time on. What's crazy is that a majority of us don't do this exercise. The most known study on human behavior is participants were given a choice. They were asked to either sit in a room for a few minutes alone with their thoughts or receive a mild shock or give themselves a mild shock. And what's crazy is that 67% of men chose to give themselves a mild shock and 25% of women decided to give themselves the shock. I mean, isn't that crazy that we would rather experience some kind of pain than sit with our own thoughts? Because of this study, that's why I feel it is so important for us to do this on a daily basis to help us understand ourselves and really face anything that is a challenge that's in front of us, whether that's mentally or something externally. There's a lot of benefits to self-reflection. So the first benefit of self-reflection revolves around reflecting on failure. Now, we all know failure is a negative example in our life where we can learn from, or we know the actions to make sure that failure doesn't happen again in the future. It's important that we intentionally reflect on these certain experiences to ensure that it doesn't happen again. If we just kind of let it slide, then we're going to keep operating in that same behavior where we experience that same mistake or failure over and over again. I know when I was younger, I would just really ruminate on that failure and not really take the time to reflect on what I can do better. What did I learn from this certain experience? And obviously with rumination, that's what led to a lot of me just like compiling and keeping all those bad memories of my failures and putting a lot of pressure / like being so hard on myself is because I didn't take the time to reflect. So reflecting on failures can be a huge benefit to us as leaders. Active self-reflection also helps increase your self-awareness. It helps you understand why you do certain things and why you act in certain behaviors. When we reflect, we take ourselves out of, that moment that we're reflecting on and looking at it from an outside perspective. When we look at things from an outside perspective, a subjective perspective, we can kind of tell these certain patterns and behaviors that we do. I know when I went through therapy and really took the time to understand why I was having these negative thoughts when this certain event happened. When I realized, looking into why that event made me upset or why that always makes me mad or why that always makes me think that, I'm not good enough, I realized okay, that is the pinpoint of, why I feel sad and upset all the time. That is the pinpoint or the root to my depression. That's the root to where the problem is and where I should focus on in order to solve it. When I realized that, I was able to just understand more myself, how to better myself, so that I know that when that event comes up again, I know the preventative measures to not push myself into a negative mindset and ruminate and have that kind of endless negative thought pattern. Another benefit to self-reflection is improving your communication skills. I think like I've harped on before, when you kind of reflect and understand your type of behaviors and your feelings and emotions that you're having when certain, events happen, you're able to communicate to your partner and to other people what boundaries that you have that need to be set. Like for example, it's I know that if someone were to raise their voice at me in an aggressive tone, I have a feeling of intimidation, kind of defensive. I feel less of a person, and that's because of things that happened in my childhood. You know, when I communicated that to my partner, she understood that, you know, to not go on that route of raising tone or coming off in an aggressive tone, because, you know, that is a trigger for me, and then I'll ultimately shut down. Therefore, the communication bridge or the communication between us isn't as great, right? So if you take the time to reflect on emotions and thoughts, you can understand boundaries that you can set with other people and kind of the feelings that you have when people do cross your boundaries. So having that understanding from self-reflection can really help improve your communication skills with others. And lastly, self-reflection can help make better decisions for yourself. I think through the things that I brought up before about failure, you know, mistakes, understanding your feelings, your sense of self-awareness, it helps you make decisions that better align with your values and, you know, how you want to go about life and how you approach it, versus like, you know, where you're just kind of acting unwillingly and not really understanding yourself. And sometimes you kind of have to explain and communicate to others and of why you are making these decisions. So having this kind of understanding through self-reflection gives you a lot more facts and also increases your emotional intelligence, which is what a lot of, you know, workplaces look to have in their leaders. So overall, reflection has been a key development piece for me. When I take time out of my day, literally, usually towards the end of the day, of, you know, what happened at work, what happened during the day, what happened with friends, what happened with my partner, it kind of gives me a sense of understanding my emotions, my feelings, and things that trigger me, things that I need to communicate about boundaries or anything along that sense. But it also has increased my emotional intelligence, which is something that a lot of companies start to look for nowadays, these soft skills that technology cannot replace, right? I'm just saying, taking 5 to 10 minutes out of your day to really reflect and to bake it into your routine because of these benefits that I've listed before. Now, I know when I first mentioned journaling to some people, they were like, oh, like, so I'm writing like a Dear Diary? Like, no, like it's not like that. It's you taking your time to reflect on it. And if you just put your ego aside for a bit, that, you know, this is an exercise that's really benefiting you, then you don't have to put it in that kind of Dear Diary sense, because I know people have a perspective that it shows like a sign of weakness, and it's not that at all. It truly isn't. So, you know, if any of the tips or benefits of self-reflection resonate with you, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Again, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope this is something that can benefit you, not only personally, but also for like your career and your mental health as well. So as always, guys, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day and become the highest version of ourselves. Love y'all.